In the dim light of an ancient cave hidden deep beneath Earth's surface, a grizzled old man, known only as the Keeper, whispers secrets to a group of wide-eyed children gathered around him. The Keeper's voice is low and urgent, echoing slightly off the cold, damp walls. He speaks of Earth's forgotten defenders, ancient creatures of myth and legend said to sleep beneath their feet. Long before the stars were bridged by the ships of man and alien alike, Earth was guarded by the Old Ones, creatures so powerful that even time dared not touch them, he murmurs, his eyes flickering with a mix of fear and hope. As he speaks, the ground beneath them rumbles faintly, unnoticed by all but the Keeper, whose eyes widen with a knowing dread. And if the day comes when Earth itself is threatened, he continues, his voice barely a whisper, these guardians will awaken, and will betide those who have brought her to harm. The children, entranced by the tale, fail to notice the subtle, almost imperceptible tremor that courses through the ground beneath them, the faintest hint of ancient power stirring from their long slumber. Alex trudged through the bustling streets of New Terra, the capital now overshadowed by towering structures of chrome and glass that the galactic peacekeepers dubbed monuments to coexistence. To Alex and his fellow Earthlings, they were stark reminders of the yoke around their planet's neck. Still serving our galactic saviors? His old friend Mara jeered from her market stall as he passed. With every breath, Alex replied, his voice laden with irony. He was in charge of managing Earth's agricultural outputs, a grand title for what was essentially the rationing of their own resources to feed distant colonies. At the corner of the market square, a hologram flickered to life, casting an eerie glow. It displayed Commander Vec, a figure as cold as the technology that surrounded him. For the continued prosperity of the Galactic Union, his voice boomed, Earth will undergo optimization. Relocation starts tomorrow. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Alex felt a knot tighten in his chest. Optimization? It was nothing more than a euphemism for stripping Earth of what little remained. He caught snippets of hushed, angry conversations. It's theft. One man spat. They're carting us off like cargo. A woman cried out, clutching her daughter. That night, under the guise of checking irrigation systems, Alex found himself at old Gideon's barn, where the resistance met. They planned to gut our planet, Alex stated flatly as he entered, greeted by faces etched with fear and defiance. And what do you propose? Gideon asked, his voice rough as gravel. We fight. On our terms, Alex responded, his voice strengthening with resolve. Back at his small apartment, Alex's attempt to sleep was futile. His mind raced with logistics, potential allies, and the sheer magnitude of what they were up against. The humming of the city, once a comforting lullaby, now sounded like a war drum. Just as sleep began to claim him, a distant and deep rumble shook his window. It was faint, easily dismissed as the thrum of the city. But Alex knew better. He recalled the tales his grandmother had whispered of the Old Ones, Earth's ancient protectors, shared as bedtime stories. Those stories held no weight in the light of day. Yet, as another tremor passed, softer this time, Alex wondered, dared to hope, that perhaps the tales were true. Perhaps Earth itself was stirring, awakening something powerful and forgotten. The morning dawned with deceptive calm over New Terra. At the city's heart, the Grand Assembly Hall, a massive dome of translucent material shimmering like a bubble, buzzed with activity. Today, the Galactic Peacekeepers would unveil their plans for Earth's optimization. With a heart heavy with dread, Alex made his way to the gathering. As he entered the assembly, Alex felt the oppressive weight of the high, arched ceilings and the cold gazes of peacekeepers stationed at every exit. The air was thick with anticipation and an underlying current of fear among the human crowd. Commander Vec stood at the podium, his figure magnified by the hall's holographic projectors. People of Earth, he began, his voice echoing off the dome, today marks a new dawn. For the prosperity of the Galactic Union, and to ensure the survival of your planet, we must take decisive action. The hologram behind him flickered to life, displaying charts and graphs of Earth's resources, overlaid with plans for massive relocation camps and extraction sites. This optimization is for the greater good, Vec continued. His words, intended to soothe, sounded to Alex like the ceiling of a tomb. From the back, an old man shouted, "You're killing our planet!" Security was upon him in an instant, his protest swallowed by the rush of bodies and the subsequent murmur of the crowd. Alex's fists clenched at his sides. He scanned the room, locking eyes with Mara, who stood across the hall, her expression one of grim resolve. They couldn't speak, not here, not with the vigilant eyes of peacekeepers watching for any sign of dissent. But the message was clear in her steady gaze: it was time. Later, at the city's edge where fields met forest, the resistance gathered. Alex addressed the small group, their faces lit by the flicker of torchlight. "We can't let them take what little we have left," he said, his voice firm, carrying through the night air. "Isn't it too late?" a young man asked, the trepidation clear in his voice. "It's never too late to fight for our home," Mara interjected, stepping beside Alex. "We start by sabotaging the extraction equipment. Hit them where it hurts their operations." Plans were quickly made. Teams were formed, each with tasks that would disrupt the peacekeepers' efforts without direct confrontation. Alex knew the risks were immense, the peacekeepers were not known for their mercy. But the alternative was far worse. As the meeting dispersed, Alex and Mara lingered. "Do you think we can really do this?" he asked, the doubt creeping into his voice for the first time. "We have to," Mara replied, her eyes reflecting the torchlight like twin fires. "For Earth." That night, as Alex lay in bed, the ground beneath him hummed softly, a gentle reminder of the old tales. The Earth felt alive, aware, and for the first time, Alex felt a flicker of hope. The next day brought chaos. As dawn broke, the first of the extraction drills ceased working, their mechanisms jammed. Reports came in of similar incidents across the globe. The Resistance's work was paying off, but Alex knew this was only the beginning. In the fields, as he surveyed the damage to the drills, he felt the ground tremble beneath his feet, stronger this time, undeniable. He remembered the old man's shout at the assembly, and wondered if the earth itself was responding. The noon sun cast long shadows across the old city square, where hundreds had gathered, defiance burning in their eyes. At the center stood an ancient statue of Earth's first astronaut, a symbol of human achievement and resilience. Today, it would become a battleground. Alex watched from the fringes, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and resolve. The crowd's murmur swelled into a chant, a single voice formed from many, demanding the galactic peacekeepers revoke their so-called optimization plans. From the edges, peacekeeper drones hovered, their cameras documenting everything. On the ground, troops lined up, their armor glinting under the sun, faceless and imposing. A young woman climbed onto a makeshift platform, her voice cutting through the chants. "This is our planet," she yelled, her voice echoing off the buildings around the square. "Our ancestors explored the stars, but it was always here that they returned, here that they dreamed of better futures." Her words struck a chord, and the crowd roared in agreement. But as her speech fueled their courage, it also drew the attention of the peacekeepers. Commander Vec appeared, flanked by his officers. "Disperse immediately," he boomed over a loudspeaker, his tone brooking no argument. "This assembly is unauthorized. Compliance is not optional." The woman didn't flinch. "We will not be silenced," she shouted back, her defiance palpable. Vec nodded slightly, and the peacekeepers advanced. "Run!" Alex yelled, his voice barely audible over the ensuing chaos. Tear gas canisters spun into the air, trailing smoke. People scattered, a panicked, desperate stampede. Amid the turmoil, a shot rang out, and the woman on the platform crumpled. Alex froze, horror gripping him. Around him, the protest turned to pandemonium, the idealism of moments ago shattered by the raw, brutal reality of their oppressor's response. As he pulled the fallen man to safety, the ground beneath them trembled, not from the chaos of fleeing crowds, but something deeper, more primal. The ancient statue at the center of the square cracked, its base crumbling as the earth shook. This was no ordinary quake. The rumbling felt alive, intentional. Vec, too, felt it, pausing to glance around with a mix of confusion and concern. His eyes met Alex's across the chaos, a silent acknowledgement that this was beyond any control the peacekeepers claimed to have. As the tremors intensified, the air vibrated with a sound so deep it was more felt than heard. The ancient ground split open, and from it, a massive form rose scaled and majestic, its eyes burning with an ancient fire. It was as if the very spirit of the planet had awakened. A dragon, massive and wrathful, spread its wings above the terrified and awestruck crowd. Another roar shook the air, a sound of anger and protection. It was joined by others, more creatures emerging around the city, answering the call of their beleaguered earth. Alex stood amid the fleeing crowd, transfixed by the sight. The creatures of legend, protectors of Earth, had awakened. He knew then that their fight was not in vain. The Earth itself had joined them. "Gather everyone," he told Mara, who had found her way to his side, her eyes wide with awe and fear. "It's not over. They'll come back harder." "But they're not just fighting us now," she replied, her voice steady despite the chaos. "They're fighting Earth itself." The dragon took flight, its massive wings causing gusts that cleared the smoke, its shadow sweeping over the peacekeepers who now hesitated, unsure. The young woman who had rallied the crowd was gone, but her spirit, her defiance, lived on in the cry of the creatures that now defended them. Under a smoke-filled sky, the ancient protectors of Earth waged war against the galactic peacekeepers. Dragons soared, casting shadows that flickered like flames over the shattered streets of New Terra. Below, griffins and other mythical beasts charged through the chaos, their roars mingling with the cries of humans. Alex maneuvered through the rubble, coordinating with Mara and other resistance leaders via makeshift communicators. "Focus efforts on the eastern sector," he instructed, watching a dragon unleash a stream of fire onto a peacekeeper tank, its advanced armor melting like wax. "That's where they're weakest." Mara, on the other side of the city, relayed orders with calm precision despite the bedlam around her. "Groups 5 through 7, move out now!" she shouted into her device. The resistance fighters, emboldened by the presence of the mythical creatures, moved with renewed purpose. The ground shook as a massive serpent, scales shimmering with an ethereal glow, demolished a peacekeeper drone with a mere flick of its tail. Nearby humans cheered, their spirits lifted by the sight of their oppressors' technology crumbling against the raw power of Earth's defenders. In the city's heart, a standoff unfolded. Commander Vec, flanked by his elite guard, confronted a formidable dragon. The beast towered over them, its eyes burning with intelligence and wrath that belied its mythical origin. "You cannot win this," Vec shouted up at the creature, his voice amplified to carry over the din. "Stand down, and your Earth will be spared further destruction." The dragon responded with a low growl, vibrating through the air, more felt than heard. Then, with a powerful beat of its wings, it sent Vec and his guards sprawling. Witnessing this, Alex felt a surge of hope. He turned to a group of young fighters who had gathered around him. "See? They're not invincible. Help the wounded, and keep pushing forward." The battle raged into the night, the darkness intermittently lit by bursts of fire and energy weapons. Amid the chaos, a strange harmony emerged on the battlefield. Humans and creatures moved with a synchronicity that suggested an ancient pact long forgotten. In a poignant moment, a young girl, no older than 12, stood before a wounded griffin. Her hand extended in a silent offer of aid. The creature, its side marred by a blast, eyed her warily before softening and allowing her to tend to its wounds. "This is our planet," someone cried out, the sentiment echoing through the ranks of both human and creature. It was a rallying cry that transcended species, a call to defend their home against those who would strip it bare. As dawn approached, with the peacekeepers in retreat and their machines in ruins, Alex and Mara met amidst the debris. Their eyes met, fatigue and elation mingling in their gazes. "We did it," Mara breathed, her voice heavy with relief and disbelief. Alex nodded, looking around at the unlikely assembly of Earth's children, human and mythical. We've won the battle. But the war? It's just beginning. Together, they watched as the first light of dawn illuminated the city, the rising sun casting long shadows of the weary, yet undefeated, defenders of Earth. The day promised a brief respite, but the future held more challenges. Still, this victory had shown them all the power of unity and the strength of their ancient allies. "We'll be ready," Alex vowed quietly, the resolve in his voice echoing the fiery sunrise. "Whatever it takes, we'll protect our home." As the sun broke over the horizon, casting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, the city of New Terra lay quiet, its usual hum of activity silenced by the aftermath of battle. Debris littered the streets, and the scorched earth bore witness to the previous night's fury. Yet, amid the devastation, a palpable sense of hope stirred. Alex stood atop a crumbled building, surveying the landscape. Beside him, Mara organized teams of humans and mythical creatures alike, working to clear rubble and tend to the wounded. The alliance forged in battle had blossomed into a cooperative effort to heal and rebuild. "Alex!" Mara called, waving him over. Her face was smudged with soot, but her eyes sparkled with determination. "We've set up emergency aid stations throughout the city. But there's more. Scouts report that peacekeeper forces are regrouping outside the western sector." Alex nodded, his expression hardening. "We need to prepare defenses. Can the dragons assist?" Mara consulted a handheld device, her fingers tapping rapidly. "Yes," they've agreed. "They understand what's at stake." She paused, looking up at him. "Alex, this isn't just about survival anymore. It's about setting a new precedent. If we can hold them off, it could change everything." Their conversation was interrupted by a thunderous roar. In the distance, a dragon ascended, its scales reflecting the morning light, a majestic and powerful guardian of the city. In the makeshift command center, human leaders and mythical beings gathered, a scene once unimaginable. Charts and digital displays showed troop movements and resource allocations, but it was the open dialogue between species that marked the true evolution of the Council. "We offer our strength, not as masters of this land, but as its humble defenders," intoned a griffin, its voice resonant and wise. "What was awakened here must not be lost to the follies of conflict." Alex stepped forward, addressing the assembly. "Today, we stand not just as survivors, but as a beacon of resistance. Let's show the galaxy that Earth is not a token in their games of power." As they strategized, a young girl approached Alex, her gaze earnest. "Sir, the people are scared. They hear the rumors of another attack. What should we tell them?" Alex knelt to meet her eye level, his voice gentle. "Tell them that we've faced the darkness before and emerged stronger. We aren't alone in this fight, we have protectors from legends themselves. Tell them to have courage, for courage is our new dawn." Reinvigorated, the girl nodded and ran off to spread the word among the citizens. Later, as the peacekeeper forces appeared on the horizon, a strange calm settled over Alex. He stood with Mara, the dragons flanking the city's boundaries, their presence a formidable deterrent. The enemy advanced slowly, cautiously. Vec himself rode at the forefront, his expression unreadable. Within moments, a standoff ensued. Vec's communicator crackled to life, his voice broadcasting across the field. "This conflict benefits no one. Let us parley." Alex stepped forward, the ruins of the city behind him, the mythical creatures around him. "Speak, then," he called back, his voice carrying across the silent expanse. Vec dismounted, approaching slowly. "Earth has shown its fangs," he admitted, stopping a few paces away from Alex. "Perhaps we underestimated your resolve, and for that, we might seek an accord." "Earth's fangs aren't for show," Alex replied. "Any agreement must recognize our sovereignty and the protection of our planet." Negotiations began, fraught with tension but underpinned by a newfound respect for Earth's capabilities.